Hey guys, what's up? This week we have been working on supply and demand in our economics class, and I want to kind of get us through this, and I want to make sure that we have this down, right? This is something that is useful not only here in our class, but also useful for us to understand some basic algebraic concepts, useful maybe on the ECA. So lots of times this is going to come up in different ways. So the first thing that I want us to start doing is I want us to look and see. Right away I know that my origin is going to be 0, and I want to mark that here. Now, I get so many questions about the price or the quantity axis and how to put numbers down there, right? The truth is that's up to you, right? If you want to use 20 to do that, use 20, count up to 140. Right, in this example, so you'll need 7. If you want to do it with something else, do it with something else, right? Do it by 30s. Do it by 40s, right? Make sure that you can do it and have a decent estimate. So I'm going to do it by 20s. And now that I have that labeled there, I'm going to also label my price. Now the price goes up to 105. Again, up to you how you want to do this, right? If I have 105 and I divide it by 15, that's an easy number for me to start at. So let's count by 15s on that price. Means I'm going to have to estimate in a few spots, but that's okay. I can also do by 10s. And let's do by 10s. It'll make it maybe a little bit easier for us today. I'm going to be tight on room up top here. In fact, I'm not going to have room, so we'll go by 15s. Let me erase that real quick as we're going. But again, see, kind of some sample there and see what we can do. Right? So now I'll do 15s. Now I'm at the top there. Now all I'm going to do is I'm going to go and I'm going to plot my points here. So on my x-axis, I have a quantity demanded of 20 at a price of 90. So right here is my first point that I'm going to plot. Okay. Next up, I have a quantity demanded of 60 at a price of 70. So just below my 75 there, right around 60. Now that's pretty bad. The stylus is poor. All right, but then I'm going to keep kind of going with this, and I'm going to keep working. I got a price of 50 in between with a quantity of 100. All right, and now I'm getting to the point where I'm getting to my last one. I have a price of 30 and a quantity of 140. All right, I connect my dots. Label that what it is and demand. Next, what I'm going to do. Again, I'm just going to follow those things. Price of 15, I have 20. All right, price of 45, I have 60. All right, price of 75, I have 100. And a price of 105, I have 140. Connect my dots, and there we are. Label that supply. What we know is this point right here is going to be our equilibrium. All right, so now that we see this, we are good to go. Now if I had to estimate that, I would estimate that down to the quantity and across to the price. All right, so maybe 57, 58 as my price, and 81 as my quantity. All right, now that's an estimate. That's not perfect here. What I want to do is I want to try to get it perfect. So I need to use some algebra. All right, so a couple formulas we're going to need. We're going to need our slope from 2 points, which is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, so what I have there is, let me make that a nice minus sign for you. All right, so I have that, and I need my equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b. All right, so most of this is review at this point, right? So I just have to pick 2 points here and get these kind of labeled there together. All right, so I have a point of 60, 70, and a point of 150. And what I do is kind of get those set up and label them x1, x2, y1, and y2. All right, so now I just plug in my y2, 50 minus 70 over 100 minus 60. Left with negative 20 over 40. I know that to be a negative 1/2, so that's what I'm going to write there. So there is my slope of demand, negative 1/2. Okay, so once I have that there, I can do the same thing for my supply side. So 1, 2, 1, 2, right? And I'll use those middle points again. Doesn't matter what point you use, the slope of this line is going to stay the same. All right, I'm going to go 60, 45, and I'm going to do 100, 75. I'm writing already. All right, so I plug that in. So here's my x1, x2. All right, so my y2 is 75 minus 45 over 100 minus 60. All right, so what I have here is I have 30 over 40, and I know that simplifies to 3/4. So there's 3/4. So now that I have done that, I'm at the point where this gets a little confusing. All right, I have to use this formula now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a set of points to plug into that formula. So my y equals 30 equals my slope of demand is negative 0.5. We're going to times that by 140, and then what we'll have is plus b. We're ultimately trying to solve for that b there. So what I do is I have 30 equals, let's say, negative 70. It's really half of it, plus b. Add 70 to both sides. I have 100 equals b. So b equals 100 here. All right, so stick with me on that. And then what we're going to do next is we are going to do the same thing for our supply. So what I'm going to do is pick a point right here. We'll say y equals 105 equals my slope, which is 0.75 times 140 or plus b. All right, again, we're solving for that b. So what I have is I have 105 equals 0.75 times 140. So we're looking for 3/4 of 140. All right, so what we have to do is just plug that in. 3/4 of 140 is actually going to be 105 plus b. Subtract 105 from both sides. 105 from both sides. I have 0 equals my b. So now I know that b equals 0. All right, so now that I've done that, right, I wish I could erase, but I can't. I have to go back in to this formula, and I have to just solve, right? So I set each of these equal with their b's. So y equals, right, my slope of the first one, negative 0.5 plus 100, and y equals equals 0.75 times x, right? And there's an x there too, I forgot that. So what I need to do next is I need to kind of go back in, and I need to start kind of erasing. This is the important stuff, and I will write that down again. Once we have all of that there, go back and write that down. So now that I have a clean slate here, I want to remember my slope. So I have a negative 0.5 equals m here, right? And I have a 0.75 equals m here. So I want to plug back into my formula, which was the y equals mx plus b, right? So once I plug that back into my formula here, I know that I have figured out the b's. B's equal 100 and b equals 0. So I want to go back and I want to plug in. So I have this formula here, which is y equals 0.5x plus 100. And I have y equals, that's a negative 0.5x, by the way, equals 0.75x, right? And remember the zero's there, so I don't need to add it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to set these equal to each other and solve for my x, or solve for my quantity in my equilibrium. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just simply take negative 0.5x plus 100, and that's going to be set equal to 0.75x. x. All right, add 0.5x to both sides. All right, add 0.5x, and I'm going to put a 0 there so I can remember to keep straight, and remember that it's going to not be 0.8, but instead something else. These cross out, so I'm left with 100 equals 1.25x. So now my next step is to get x by itself, so I'm going to divide by 1.25 on both sides. All right, and I'm left with 80 equals x. So now I know that my quantity equilibrium, and I'll write equilibrium over here, is 80. That's my first one, right? So now I have to go back and solve for y. All I have to do is take this and plug that in right there for x. So I have y equals 0.75 times 80, and I have y equals 60. So I go back over here, and my equilibrium point is y over 60. Now remember, we estimated just a little under 60 and about 80 for our estimation on the graph. And what's important about that is remembering that that's an estimation, and that because we're not exactly graphing it, that it's always going to be an x estimation. Sorry, excuse me. All right, so it's important that we kind of see that and we see that taking shape. So again, if you guys have questions, that's fine. Please ask. I want to make sure that you guys got this down a little bit, right? I'm not afraid to move forward, because what we're going to talk about next is shifts in supply and shifts in demand, and that'll be a little bit easier for you guys, just identifying reasons why. Don't be afraid. This will come back. We will solve for this, all right, on our upcoming test, and you guys will see that you guys can do it. I know you can. Thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one.